first exercise, we're gonna start with a max pronation and dorsy flexion of the foot. I'm gonna place a wedge underneath my first met head to keep it elevated. I wanna spread my toes. If you struggle with that, you can put another wedge underneath the toes. I'm gonna allow my heel to stay heavy throughout, and I'm gonna drive my knee forward until I'm in a max dorsiflex position. This is gonna be a little bit different for everyone. You can choose to keep your leg just relaxed in the back, and then I'm just gonna hold this position, allowing my arch to drop for about 1 to 2 minutes. Next, I'm gonna get rid of the wedge and I'm gonna go into some pronation with active supination on the back end. So I'm gonna start with my heel heavy and I'm gonna drive forward as I allow my heel to rotate down towards the floor and I go into this first met head. I'm gonna allow that foot to relax a little bit. And then as I come back and I start to bring my knee behind my heel, you'll see that my arch naturally lifts. I'm gonna emphasize this even more by creating a maximal dorsiflexion of my big toe, and then that's gonna elicit a lot of supination in that foot. So I'm gonna go back and forth, down into that pronation, and then back out and active supination. I'm gonna take it nice and slow, and you can even add an inhale and exhale here, so I can exhale, relax down into that foot, and then inhale, active supination as I bring my knee back. And I'm gonna repeat that 10 times. For this next drill, I'm gonna create connection down the entire lower limb. So I'm gonna place my met heads on the foam roller, which is gonna result in an arch that can relax and drop down as the met heads come up. I'm gonna bring my opposite knee in towards my chest, and I'm gonna lift up and bridge, getting nice contraction through the glute at the top. I'm not allowing myself to arch, and I'm gonna hold this position here for about 30 seconds on each side. So I'm gonna switch my position this time and create a supinated shape of the foot. I'm gonna place the wedge on the ground with my forefoot on the wedge, so it's going to create sort of an uphill drag, which is gonna result in a more supinated shape of the foot. I'm gonna keep the heel lifted throughout, and I'm gonna perform the exact same bridge, up, holding, for 30 seconds on each side. Next, I'm gonna integrate both foot positions in a lower body strength exercise. So I'm gonna start in a rear foot elevated split stance. As I go down into the squat, I want to allow my foot to relax and my arch to drop down. My knee is going forward over my midfoot. In this position, I actually wanna be a little more hingy when I go down. So I'm gonna allow my butt to lift and stay forward. So we're gonna start here. And then as I come up, I want to switch my position to be more upright, bringing my knee back. I'm going to elevate my heel and lift up out of that position. I'm going to reset back in my hinge, drop down, dropping my arch. I'm going to drive my heel up, bring my knee back, and push up out of the squat. So when you're going from this position back, you will be weighting and loading this back leg slightly more. As you lift that heel, you can see the shake happening in my lower limb, and then I'm gonna push myself up out of it. For this next exercise, I'm gonna work the calf complex in its full range, going from a more pronated shape to a more supinated rigid shape. So I'm gonna start with my foot on the wedge, holding onto the wall. I'm gonna allow my heel to come down and bend my knee so my arch can drop slightly and relax. And then I'm gonna come straight up, keeping pressure into that first met head, hold that position, and then slowly come back down all the way into my dorsiflex position where I can get that nice length in the foot, and then go back up to that more closed pack, rigid shape of the foot at the top. And I'm gonna repeat that for 10 to 15 reps. For this final exercise, I'm gonna work on some dynamic movement, which is gonna build resiliency in the foot, help for that transverse arch to stay nice and wide. And we're gonna do this by starting in a really small split stance. So I don't wanna be back here in a lunge. I want my feet to be a little bit closer together. I'm gonna set up in front of a plate or a really sturdy block or book. And as I go down into my split squat, I'm gonna go from this position, which is more pronated shape of the foot, and I'm gonna hop up onto the plate, land on my forefoot, and then hop back down and let the foot relax. So once you get the rhythm of it, it's up, down, up, down, up, down. So I'm sort of yielding into the ground with my foot here, and then stiff, nice, wide toe box when I get up to the top of the plate, and then yield. So you're gonna do about 15 reps of those on each side.